might hear a little background noise. I'm at my in-laws' house. Hopefully it's minimized. Can you hear anything?
I can't hear anything.
Okay, there you
So
go.
hopefully no one can hear anything.
Yeah,
We should say at the very beginning of this, there are spoilers throughout this podcast.
Yeah, we never do that, but this is definitely a spoiler alert. If you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet, don't.
Yeah,
listen
our
to this
entire
at all.
entire podcast series is spoiling movies. So
Yeah.
that's why we never do it, because it's just like the premise of the podcast. But if you're coming to the podcast new because you just want to hear more about Spider-Man No Way Home, there's spoilers all throughout this.
Yes. But hey, how about this? You can listen to the first few minutes of this and not be spoiled, because this is going to be us talking about how we liked it or disliked it, and then we're going to spoil it. So we'll tell you when we're about to really spoil it. How's that? All right, Mike. So Spider-Man No Way Home, I would argue, is the biggest movie release of the year. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
Yeah.
We were checking seats like every day just to see if we could get in there when there was not that many people in the theater, and that's an impossible task.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, okay, so I'm going to tell you how I feel about it, and you tell me how you feel about it, and then we can go from there. Okay. So
All right, you start off.
I absolutely loved it. 100%. How about you? I'm nervous.
Well, I mean, like, why did you love it? Like, tell us a little bit. Not going into any details, but like,
No spoilers?
How did it make you feel? How did it make you feel?
Yeah, well, so Tom Holland's Spider-Man, if you look at Homecoming, Far From Home, and this one, you never really got a sense that the MCU knew what they were doing with Spider-Man. When you look at Homecoming, it felt okay as an introduction, but then you look at Far From Home, it was absolutely terrible. And so you never really understood what they were trying to do. But then you have this movie that just came out. And
I agree with you on both counts of both of those other two movies.
Yeah. But then you have this movie, and it kind of solves all the problems almost perfectly. Like if someone told me that at the end of this movie, you are going to have the Spider-Man that you've been wanting since you first saw Tom Holland as Spider-Man, I would have been like, no way. But then you definitely got it, and it solved so many problems. It just fixed so many different issues. That's not only is it a success as a piece of entertainment, but it's also a success from the evolution of comic book storytelling. Like if you're looking at the MCU and you're looking at comic book movies, and everybody's saying like, comic book movies are getting stale, getting old. This one has reinvented it to the point where, it's almost impossible not to like it. Like you have to be pretty cynical to watch this movie and then be like, "Well, this is terrible." So it was just all around. Like I got teary several times. I didn't know it was going to happen, and then it was just like perfect. And like I'm generally sad. Like I'm worried about what's going to happen next. So I'm generally sad that we might not see another Tom Holland Spider-Man, which could be. I don't know. Your reaction, Mike? I'm super nervous about it.
All right. I smiled a lot when I was watching this. I cried a few times. I laughed some. I tapped my son on the leg at one point in the movie. But I got to tell you, we ranked the MCU recently. I know you would put this movie at the top of that ranking now.
Yes, 100%.
Okay,
100%.
And that's in front. That's in front of that. I mean, it's in front of everything, but clearly, it's in front of Captain America: The First Avenger, which was your previous number one.
Yeah, I would argue that this is the best comic book movie ever made. Period.
Okay. I would not argue that. For me, it does not displace my number one. And I'm still not done processing yet. So if I came away thinking this was the worst or the best out of the MCU, clearly I'd be able to say, no, it's the new number one, or no, it's the new, bottom of the barrel. Right now I'm thinking it's somewhere in the middle third is what I'm kind of thinking right now.
That's fair.
And
so like maybe 10, 12, 15?
Somewhere between 8 and maybe 15, something like that.
That's fair. That's completely fair. 100%. Especially coming from you, because you're not a comic book like nerd necessarily. Yeah, it fits.
I definitely see how you would rank it very high and I would not, because it has a lot of fan service that you enjoy more than I do. But a lot of it was, we've been talking about what I was afraid of this movie being. right? And it kind of was what I was afraid of it being. But the other aspects of the movie were so good that it kind of raised the entire movie to um, a higher level. I think if all of the pieces weren't coming together, this would be near the bottom of my list, just because it's got too much stuff in it, and it's not the kind of Spider-Man movie that I want to see.
All right, all right. So
But what I do really love about it is what you were talking about, where it fixes things. And so coming out of this, assuming that Sony and Marvel and Tom Holland can all come together and be friendly and go forward with a new trilogy, this sets us up at the end of this movie. It sets us up for exactly what I want to see out of Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
Yes, 100%. So we're in spoiler territory now. So I'm gonna give. I have the daunting task of giving a plot summary to this thing. All right, I'm going to do it. Okay, Mike, give me a timer. I got 1 minute to do this.
Okay.
Let me know when to start.
Let's go.
All right. So, keep start.
What?
All right. No, I'm going to start. So at the beginning of this movie, if you watched Spider-Man Far From Home, it was revealed at the very end that Mysterio outed Spider-Man as being Peter Parker. So Peter Parker is now outed, and he is in the world. And the fact that he's Spider-Man is causing his friends and his family to be ostracized and have some problems in the world. So
yeah, and most importantly, him and his friends don't get into MIT.
Yeah, that's kind of important. Anyway, so then he goes to Doctor Strange and asks Doctor Strange to cast a spell so people forget that he is Spider-Man. The spell goes awry, and it turns out that it opens up the multiverse and brings in previous villains from previous Spider-Man movies. So if you look at the Sam Raimi movies or the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 movies, you have villains from those two movies. Spider-Man has to catch these people, but then the coolest thing about this is that Spider-Man realizes that these people are going to die or be damaged if he sends them back. So he tries to cure them of their problems. Hijinks ensue. Aunt May dies. The original Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, shows up, and also Amazing Spider-Man. What's his name?
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield shows up from Amazing Spider-Man. They team up, and they all have a brilliant fight scene. They cure the supervillains of their ills. They get sent back to their proper universes, but at a high price. Tom Holland's Spider-Man has to give up his identity. He has to make the world forget he's Peter Parker. All his friends and family forget who he is, and he's completely alone in the world. But we do get the refined, fixed version of Spider-Man at the very end. He has a brand new costume that he's made on his own, and he swings out in New York during Christmas. It's probably one of the coolest scenes you've ever seen. Really awesome in the end. I did. That was pretty good.
Yeah, you. That was almost 2 minutes, but I couldn't
cover.
I couldn't chime. I couldn't chime in there at the 1 minute mark when you said that Aunt May died. So
yeah, you interrupted a little bit, but anyway. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Far From Home is so bad that I don't even want to do an episode about it, but I know we have to.
Yeah, we got to.
Outing Spider-Man as Peter Parker gave us the typical problems you saw, but we didn't spend too much time with those problems because the movie just had so much it wanted to cover that we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time showing the results of what would happen if the world found out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But what we do get at the very beginning is, Mike, what was the first cameo that we saw that I told you we were going to get?
You're going to have to remind me on that one.
Matt Murdock.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, we all knew that we were going to get that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was cool to see it, right? And it was cool to confirm
that was the one point where I tapped my son on the leg.
What did your son do? Was he excited about it? Was he stoked?
Yeah, we were.
He had to be.
We were both super stoked.
Confirmed. Daredevil is in the MCU now,
and it looks like it's the same Daredevil. I know you said it's a different variation, but
it might be a different. I don't know, but it's Charlie Cox, which I think is awesome.
Yeah,
it's just so cool. Just really cool.
When the brick comes through, Nelson's back too.
Yeah, it should be maybe. But when the brick came through and he caught it, that was awesome. That
was great.
That's the good stuff.
He's just a good lawyer.
Yeah, I'm just a really good lawyer. That was fun. But it was a very brief scene. And the whole consequences of him being outed didn't last too long because we kind of get to the place where he has to start working with Doctor Strange. Um, what did you think about the? I guess that's the first, maybe the first quarter of the movie. What did you think about him being outed as Spider-Man? How'd you feel like they handled that?
I thought they handled that really well, and that was one of, I think, my favorite parts of the movie, just because we got to see Spider-Man being Spider-Man.
Mm,
Um, that first scene, the first series of scenes in the movie where the crowd's kind of gathering around MJ and causing a bit of trouble for her, so he has to swing in and save her
yeah.
and take her away was great. I loved it. And it gave me a little bit of Ferris Bueller's Day Off vibes during
Yeah, it was
that,
kind of fun.
which we know that the director John Watts had everybody in this cast watch all of John Hughes' movies before they did the first movie.
Hmm. I didn't know that. Did he do all three?
He did all three. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
didn't know that.
he wanted to like flavor these movies after John Hughes movies.
I can see that being a good and bad thing, but let's continue.
Yeah,
Um,
but I
you know,
love that opening series. Yeah, it's great.
I didn't like the Zendaya MJ until this movie, and I really started really liking her. I thought she did a really good job with that character. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Um, and I also like Ned. I mean, Ned was cool too. Aunt May, she was awesome in this. I think really good.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
we never really got to really spend time with her and Peter. And so, like, the relationship between them always felt a little forced. There was never. I think, like, if you go back to Far From Home, once again, it's wasted so much time. Like, that could have been a whole movie that did a lot more work, but instead, it was what it was. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, and the MIT thing, I thought was like, I was really sad for them when they didn't get into MIT. I mean, I was like, it sucks. These kids went to a school designed to get them into colleges like this, and then they can't
Mm-hmm.
get in, and
Right.
so, and it's Peter Parker's fault. And you can't deny
Right.
that.
Right.
It's his fault. So he has to find a solution, and then we get the meeting with Doctor Strange. I
Yeah,
thought it.
I love Doctor Strange where he says, "You mean you came to me to cast a spell before you even bothered talking to MIT about this?"
He's like, well,
And
yeah,
that's so much like
it's a
people grow
child.
up and people grow up, they don't understand, like, oh no, I got a letter saying that I'm denied. That's it. There's nothing I
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
kid, so he's
Yeah.
thinking very extreme.
Right. Right. He's like,
But
yeah, I'm not going to be able to go there. That's it.
if you back up real fast, the coolest thing was when Doctor Strange revealed that he wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme. It was Wong. It
Right.
was like
Yeah,
because he was
because he was
because
blipped. Yeah.
yeah, it was blipped, and like it was like, and that I like that. I like that a lot.
I like that
And
too, but it kind of explains why we're seeing like Wong in
yeah,
all these movies and stuff too.
yeah, I agree. And like before in the comics, Wong was just like the stereotypical Asian like servant to Doctor Strange, and now in the MCU, he's really being treated with a lot of respect now, and I like that a lot.
Hmm.
Um, but then we get the spell, and it didn't. I thought it would take longer for the spell to have a problem or reaction, but it wasn't until like the next scene where we get the reveal of Raimi's Doc Ock, and we get that's a really awesome fight scene. I mean, that was a really cool fight scene.
Hmm.
I thought it was brilliantly done. What did you think about it?
Yeah, it was good.
What was wrong with it?
I didn't say anything was wrong with it. I said it was good. Did I say something was wrong with it?
You're not excited. You're not as excited as I was about the fight scene.
I guess maybe I'm tired of fight scenes on bridges. I don't know.
That's true. That's fine.
Yeah.
Um, it's just so it was almost like Sam Raimi Spider-Man just came out last week, and it was like just straight up. Once again we get Doc Ock, just brilliantly done.
Hmm.
The special effects was seamless. Doc Ock seemed like he was a real threat. It's great. It's just smart. Everything about it.
Yeah, I did really enjoy it where the nanobots from
Yeah, that was good.
Spider-Man's suit took over Doc Ock's
Yeah,
tentacles, and that was pretty cool. Yeah.
and like the coolest thing about that scene is just the when we saw Green Goblin show up. Like the Green Goblin in this, I felt like was just as threatening as he was in the original Spider-Man. And when you look at the comics, the Green Goblin is Spider-Man's like ultimate nemesis. So I thought they did a really good job working with that and doing that. I thought it was great. And William Dafoe did a brilliant job as Osborn. I mean, it's almost like the Sam Raimi characters, like Alfred Molino as Doc
Millennium.
Ock, and then
Yeah.
William Dafoe as Doc. They just did their characters brilliantly. I just love it.
Yeah, he's Green Goblin's great. Willem Dafoe's great playing him. I know people don't like that costume, but I've never seen anything wrong with it. It totally makes sense to me.
The Green Goblin costume?
The Green Goblin costume, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It's a little dated. It's a little aged, but I thought it was awesome. Like when he smashed the mask, I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. But I think they did that just because a lot of people have never really liked that costume.
I don't care what people think. Like, like at this point, it just doesn't matter.
But he is a great villain. Probably, well, I guess now he's part of the MCU, but I think maybe he's one of the coolest or most interesting villains out of the MCU. Really.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Because that has to be explained about how this fits in the MCU. So you'll get to that. But then Spider-Man has to go out and find more of these beings.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Doctor Strange fought the Lizard on his own off screen. You know, I would have loved to see that fight. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But then Spider-Man goes after Electro, which is of course played by Jamie Foxx.
Right.
I think Jamie Foxx did a great job. I haven't seen him in a movie in a long time, but I thought Jamie Foxx did a really good job as Electro. I thought it was great.
I think the last movie I've seen him in was Baby Driver.
Well, yeah, you know what? You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But that was great. And I like that Electro was kind of like not like a pure villain, but more like, hey, this world's interesting to me. I want to take this power. I want to use it. But you know what? I didn't know Sandman was going to be in this. I had no clue that Sandman was going to be in this. Did you?
I wasn't looking into any of the spoilers and stuff, but who was it everybody thought the Dust was going to be? Or somebody...
I think everybody thought it was going to be Sandman, but I don't know.
I thought it was somebody else because I don't remember hearing Sandman in any of the like rumors leading up to this, but I do remember people seeing like Dust and thinking it was going to be one of the Sinister Six.
Well, Sandman is in the Sinister Six, so maybe that was the thing. I'm kind of glad that they didn't make it the Sinister Six for this, like officially. I kind of like that. It was just like a bunch of bad guys. I like that a lot.
Right.
But then we get the main paradox, not the paradox, but main problem of this movie, which is these like Electro definitely dies in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Dr. Ock definitely dies in Spider-Man 2, just regular Spider-Man 2. Green Goblin dies in Spider-Man 1. The Lizard doesn't die in Amazing Spider-Man 1. And Sandman doesn't die in Spider-Man 3. So the whole thing was like 3 of them are definitely going to get killed if they go back to just how they were. And because of what because of what Aunt May says to Peter about, it's your responsibility to help people. Peter decides to go against Doctor Strange wishes, and they have this little device that if he pushes it, that they all go back to their home, and like Spider-Man steals the device, and there's a kind of fight scene between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, which of course was visually amazing. But this
I thought so when in the trailers we were seeing all that stuff. I thought that was part of the spell going wrong.
Yeah, I like the fact that it was just them fighting.
It was just Doctor Strange took Spider-Man into the mirror dimension,
which is awesome.
Just to have a fight. Yeah,
I mean, it's just like, okay, you're Spider-Man, and like there's 2 things here that is classic Spider-Man. 1, Spider-Man makes a moral decision, which we have not seen the Tom Holland Spider-Man make in any movies yet. He did make it in Spider-Man 1, in Homecoming, I'm sorry. He does decide to not go to the school dance and fight Vulture instead. That was a moral decision. And he didn't really do that in No Way Home, because No Way Home, Far From Home, because Far From Home was terrible. But he does do it here. He could have said, you know what, Doctor Strange, send these people back. We screwed up. Send these people back. It's fine. But he says, you know what? No, this is wrong. We can help these people. I know I can do it. And he does. He defies Doctor Strange. They have a big fight scene, and he prevails, which is another Spider-Man thing. Spider-Man in the comics always fights people that are more powerful, smarter, or just plain better than he is. And Spider-Man always wins. Not because he's better, just because he somehow manages to get through it. And that scene where he traps Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension is simply beautiful. That is quintessential Spider-Man. That's what Spider-Man does. He fights people that he's not supposed to fight, and he wins. It was great.
So you're definitely on the side of Spider-Man and Aunt May there, then, right?
Well, practically, Doctor Strange is correct, and it will have saved it will have saved people's lives. It will have saved a lot of property damage.
Right.
But morally, means May and Peter Parker's right. I mean, yeah, I mean, they saved these guys' lives, and we can talk about the implications of that, because there's actually a conundrum, a catch-22 problem with that, and we'll talk about that later. But he was right; it worked. But I guess you're on Doctor Strange's side.
I don't know. I think probably in the moment, I definitely would have been on Doctor Strange's side.
It's the easier thing to do.
And if I was MJ and I saw what happened to Spider-Man and Aunt May, I probably would have hit that button when they were.
Yeah, I would have hit that button. If I was MJ, I would hit that button too, 100%.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at the Sam Raimi and Amazing Spider-Man movies, and you're seeing that these guys have a second chance, it's almost like a love letter to everybody who's watched Spider-Man movies for the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, like this. It's like a weird payoff. Like, who would have guessed that me watching Spider-Man 2 would let me enjoy it again in a different way, like 18 years later? Do
you remember what made Norman Osborn like have the split personality? Do you remember that?
It was the chemicals. Yeah, it was the Green Goblin chemicals he was exposed to in Spider-Man 1.
Okay, so they could, in theory, like fix that with some kind of concoction.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was all the ways they fixed these villains in No Way Home was canonically correct. It was correct in that. The movie is very well done.
Dr. Ock is. I think they made that one up for this movie, right? But it
no. In Spider-Man 2, when he was working on his device, there was an electric surge went through his arms and burned out the chip in his neck, and that chip in his neck caused him to lose control of the tentacles. Dude, we've seen and talked about a lot of movies that didn't have all the O's and X's correct. This movie had all the O's and X's correct. There's only a couple different places where we can argue about plot, but they watched these movies, they studied these movies, they got them right. They did not mess anything up.
Okay. Never heard of O's and X's being correct before. I've heard P's and Q's.
I wanted to say P's and Q's, but when you're on a podcast, you just kind of just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Right.
Let's talk about the fight scene between Green Goblin and Spider-Man in the apartment. How brutal was that fight scene? That was a really brutal fight scene.
Yeah, and just the like the sense of foreboding that with Peter Parker's spidey sense starts to tingle.
Oh yeah.
In that room, and he's like,
yeah.
Where is the danger actually coming from?
That was so good. So good.
And I was I was thinking before he realized where it was coming from, I was like, is it coming from outside the apartment? Is it coming from inside the apartment? And is it just the fact that he's concentrated all of these villains into such a small space?
Yeah. And it turns out to be the Green Goblin. And the Green Goblin didn't get a lot in the Sam Raimi movies. The Green Goblin did not get his just like desserts. Like in the comics, the Green Goblin is the ultimate Spider-Man villain. He's like ruthless. He's dangerous. He's always been someone who's like destroyed Spider-Man's life in many different ways. And the movies didn't capture this, but this movie definitely captured it. Like I would not want to be in a room alone with the Green Goblin for even a second. And like
super powerful.
Yeah, super powerful, just plain evil, maniacal. Right. And that fight scene was just brutal. Like he wasn't giving Spider-Man any like any like room. He wasn't giving him like, when sometimes you fight someone or in the other fight scenes, it's never really been like like this Tom Holland's never had to go toe to toe. We never really had to see him like really fight until
Right.
this fight scene. And this is one where he definitely had to earn the mantle of Spider-Man with this one. It was just great.
Well, I think in this movie it was Tobey Maguire who said that at one point he stopped pulling his punches and kind of
It
went
was
into a dark
it was
place.
Andrew. It was
It was
Andrew
Andrew.
Garfield.
Okay.
Yeah, he said that. But yeah, 100%.
So that kind of we've talked about that before, where Spider-Man is very powerful, but he we've said he's pulling his punches. So I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting hearing
And
that.
yeah. But that fight scene with Green Goblin was just oof, that was
Yeah,
great.
he was not holding back. I couldn't believe it
No.
when he was like slamming Spider-Man through the floor.
Yeah. The worst
Yeah.
part was when Tom Holland was punching him in the face and he was just laughing.
Right.
Yeah. He was like if you're
was pretty
fighting
crazy.
someone and you're just doing the worst you can to them and they're laughing at you, like what's that
Right.
make you feel? It's like, well,
Yeah.
this is going well.
Yeah.
But then of course we get the tragic death of Aunt May, which is sad. It made me sad when I saw it, but this is going to kind of come up later. This is definitely an end of contract movie. Do you know what I'm talking about here with that?
I do, yeah.
He's like, Aunt May's been in 3 movies. She's done.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm not going to do anymore. This is the end of my contract, so I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And super sad. I don't feel like I got to know her that well as Aunt May. But Marissa
I always
Tomei
thought it was
did
a
a great
weird
job.
casting choice, to be honest with you.
Why?
We know of Aunt May as like an older lady.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I kind of like that she was a little different this time. I kind of like, and to be honest with you, like being older doesn't mean you have to have gray hair and bend over with a cane. It was just, you can be
Right.
you can be in your late 40s, early 50s,
Yeah.
or even mid 50s and not look terrible. Like just look at J-Lo. She's like what 60, 70 and she looks like she's 12. So
Yeah.
So again, I think Marissa Tomei was a inspired choice. But I mean, she's died and then that's it. And then we get the scene where
Did you know like right away when she was hit by the glider that she was gone? Or
I'll be honest with you, Mike. Before these movies come out, I always try to find the spoilers. And here's why I do this. No, this is why I do this.
Okay. All right.
When I go to a movie, I'm trying to understand their storytelling techniques. I'm trying to appreciate the fight scenes. I'm trying to appreciate the entertainment aspect of it. If I go in there blind, I'll be spending so much time worried and trying to figure out things in my head that I can't enjoy it. So
right.
it's easier for me to read a synopsis of the movie before I go see it because I can really enjoy it then. And I know that's kind of intuitive, but I love a movie when I know what's going to happen. I'm like, okay, now I can go see it and really enjoy it now.
Okay.
And
that makes sense. If you're watching a movie and you're trying to figure it out while it's playing out, I could see how that would be
distracting.
Very distracting. Very distracting.
Yeah. And I just want to go and enjoy it. So yeah,
Right.
I knew everything about this movie before I saw it. But it didn't take away the joy of it because it was the way they told the story that I thought was great. And like a lot of this stuff was done so well and so surprisingly that I was like, I knew what was going to happen, but I was surprised when I saw how it happened.
I have to get sidetracked here for a second. Okay.
Sure.
Just hearing you explain that, why you read up on spoilers. Have you seen Knives Out?
Yes.
Okay. Did you do the same thing with that?
No, I only do it for comic book movies. Just
Okay.
comic book movies.
Okay. So you're able to watch Knives Out and kind of tamp down that part of your brain where it's trying to figure out the movie.
Yeah, it's a mystery, right? So I'm like, it's the point of the movie is the mystery. So that's different. But a comic book movie, I'm definitely going to read the spoilers for it.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Cool. Just wanted to figure that out.
Yeah. So then I want to know how your family reacted when they saw the other Spider-Man show up. Ned apparently figures out how to open portals with the sling ring, which I thought was kind of cool. And then, and then we get the Andrew Garfield. Is it Garfield Spider-Man? Is that his name?
Huh? Andrew Garfield? Yeah, he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, and we get the classic Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Did you know that? Did you absolutely know they were going to show up, or did you what?
I did not. I mean, I saw all the rumors, but I never really dug into them or anything like that.
So how did you guys react? What was your family's reaction when you guys saw him?
Um, Definitely excited to see him. Yeah, yeah, definitely excited.
I thought it was great. I just thought like that, and I didn't know how emotional it would be for me to see Tobey Maguire. The Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans. There are
Mhm.
some people really love those Spider-Man movies, and there's
Depends on
already
how old you were when you saw those
yeah,
Spider-Man movies.
that's probably true. Like the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, there's already been calls for Amazing Spider-Man 3. People want that movie. They
Right.
want the third movie, in which, hey, newsflash, you'll probably get it. So just like let you know, you're probably getting an Amazing Spider-Man 3 at some point. Just let you know. Like that's probably gonna happen. But Tobey Maguire, like that is my Spider-Man. You know,
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
my Spider-Man. And to see him show back up was
right.
super emotional. That was like I wanted to ask him so many questions. I was like, "How you doing, man? What's going on?" You know, and like
Yeah,
he
my
was
wife
just like,
mentioned she liked that they did not de-age him.
yeah, he just like he looked like he was just old, you know.
Right, right.
But yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. And I love the scene in the lab when they're all working together. I thought that was really cool too. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's I'm conflicted with them showing up because it's part of the whole there's too much going on in this movie. I don't like it. It's not the Spider-Man movie that I want to see. However, at the same time, it's very emotional with those
Yeah,
two guys showing up.
yeah.
Um
I
and
mean,
I'm straddling the fence on whether is it great that they were able to make me cry with Aunt May dying and those two guys showing up and talking about that, or is it just they're going for like cheap emotional pulling of the strings?
I would agree with you. Normally, that was an emotional ploy just to mess with us, but I
Hmm.
really do feel like this movie was a love letter to all Spider-Man movie fans. If
Yeah.
you love the Spider-Man movies, this movie's for you, man. This movie was designed for people who have watched all the Spider-Man movies and loved them, because all the characters are treated with respect. They're treated with admiration. They're treated with the way you want, with love. And
Hmm.
so again, this isn't exactly a Spider-Man movie you wanted, but it kind of, in my part, it kind of is. We do get quite a bit of Spider swinging through New York, and we do get the idea of what makes Spider-Man who he is. Like, who
Yeah.
is this guy? And
Yeah.
it took us to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. It took us to see them again and to see their interactions for the Tom Holland Spider-Man to be like, okay, this is what it means to be Spider-Man. It's not just working with the Avengers. It's not fighting Thanos. It's actually like doing good, you know? And so
Hmm. Right.
I thought that was great. I really thought that was good. I thought it was good. So we get the final fight scene. So I'm confused. They were I guess they were getting ready to remake the Statue of Liberty with a Captain America shield.
Yeah, earlier in the movie, there's some kind of you overhear or it's on the TV or something. They're talking about people putting the Captain America shield on the Statue of Liberty.
Why?
I
Like
don't know.
why would you do that?
I guess to honor Steve Rogers since he's
It's
gone.
it's tacky. It's just kind of
But
bad.
yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is like, is J. Jonah Jameson going to be like, thanks Spider Man for taking that shield off of Statue of Liberty? Is
I
he
don't
going to get
know.
any credit for that?
I don't know, but
I think he should. I
do
think
remember
people
that.
should thank him for
Yeah,
knocking that
100%.
stupid shield off the Statue of Liberty.
This is that Kate Bishop thing that she talked about in Hawkeye 5.
Right.
So, I see what they were trying to do, but I'm glad it kind of like the Statue of Liberty just looks cool. Like you don't need to mess it up. That's fine.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but we do get a great fight scene between all these villains and the three Spider-Men. And dude, I don't care who you are. When you see finally after they kind of mess up their attacks the first time, when you
Hmm.
see all three of them swinging together,
Yeah.
come on, dude. How awesome was that? That was just so good. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
all three of them swinging down together, getting ready to fight, and they all do the Spider-Man pose on top of the Statue of Liberty. Come on,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you have your heart has to be pure stone for you not to like that. Like, come on, it's just so good. Like, so good. It's just so good.
Kind of like the Black Widow pose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not really, but sort of. But then we get the fight scenes, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
We all that kind of done. We get the
I
final fight
really
scene.
liked when the three of them were talking about
Yeah.
the villains that they fought.
Yeah, that was funny. That
And Andrew Garfield's like, I'm lame.
He said, "No, man, you're amazing.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
amazing."
Tobey Maguire's like, no, you're amazing.
Because like this is the same kind of conversation people have had. Like, hey, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, but no, like, you know what? I kind of want to watch. I never seen Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I'm going to probably watch it just to see how it goes. I really will.
I honestly can't remember if I've seen it or not. I
heard
definitely
it
know
was a hot mess.
I definitely know I saw the first one, and I don't know. I guess I just didn't feel like it was my Spider-Man as much as Tobey Maguire was.
Yeah, I mean, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the biggest critique it had was that it had too many villains in it. So that was a problem.
Yeah.
But I think this is not a spoiler. In Amazing Spider-Man 2, Gwen Stacy's killed because of Spider-Man. And and that's that scene you saw when Andrew Garfield flies down and saves MJ. And he's so emotional because he did something that he couldn't do before, which I thought was
absolutely.
Which I thought was good. That was really good. And then you got the scene where Tom Holland.
That's another like watery eye moment.
Yeah, there was a lot of those. And then you see Tom Holland fighting the Green Goblin at the very end. He almost kills him, but then Tobey Maguire stops him, but then gets stabbed. But then finally
by the Green Goblin. Yep.
Yeah, and then finally Spider-Man, Tom Holland saves Green Goblin. And that and
some of the effects in this movie didn't quite hold up, and that one was one for me where
what effect?
It was a great storyboarding that like drawing out the scenes on a sheet of paper.
Mm-hmm.
They storyboarded that perfectly, I think. I loved like the scene of it's from Tom Holland's point of view.
Yeah.
And we see Tobey Maguire like holding up the glider, preventing Tom Holland from killing the Green Goblin. Great setup, but for me the effects, it was clearly that it wasn't a real scene.
Yeah,
and there were a few scenes like that for me.
Yeah, I'll give you that. And don't get it twisted. My biggest critique of this movie is the special effects. I mean, if you look at the scene in the mirror dimension, that is 100% CGI. Nothing in that's real.
Right.
So it's like at this point, anybody can make a movie if you have a special effects budget through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's an honest critique that I think all these movies have. I think that the next big great movie will be one that does live action more because we're getting kind of tired of these special effects. But I mean, it's hard. It's hard to make these movies without them and keep them under budget. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing at this movie at the very end is Doctor Strange is having to deal with the multiverse seeping into our universe. And like the way the multiverse cracked,
it seems like it's other people that knew Peter Parker from other universes that are all seeping through.
Yeah, but like, dude, it looks just like it did in Loki. Episode 6, right? They are really working. They're all and like
So do you think this scene in the Spider-Man movie is what Kang the Conqueror felt?
No,
at the end of Loki. No.
No. Let's not do that.
It's possible. It's possible.
Let's not do that. Well, I do think it is.
Why not? Why don't you want to do that?
Because I still feel like it.
That doesn't make any sense. Why not? What are you talking about?
Because it's too much. It's too much right now. It's like there is going to be times where people are going to story build and link Loki with the multiverse stuff that we're seeing now.
It's like two very clear multiverse scenes.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe I doubt it. Who knows? We'll have to find out. What I do appreciate is that the special effects teams from both Loki and from this movie work together. Like there's a thread where everybody knows that we're having a continuous story arc, and it's really important that the multiverse looks that way when you in this movie and in Loki. So if you watch Loki, you see it, and they're doing a really good job with this multiverse stuff, and I think it worked well. But I think the biggest thing that made me cry, the last thing that made me cry, is that Peter Parker, tells Strange to create a spell where everybody forgets who he is. And dude, like it's not it's a sacrifice. I mean, the whole thing's their fault. It's Doctor Strange and Peter Parker's fault. But that
Right.
Peter Parker would just take the hit that hard and lose all his friends and family was just it's just a lot. You know, it's just super sad. It's just super
Yeah.
sad. Like you can't do anything about it. It's just super sad.
It's kind of frustrating that the very end of the movie is fixed the way we started out at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
if he had just let Doctor Strange do that spell as is from the very beginning, we would have ended up in the same place. But Aunt May would still be alive. All that destruction wouldn't have happened. I guess
but
on the
that's
plus side, we did get rid of the shield on the Statue of Liberty.
yeah, but that's what it means to be Spider-Man. Like at when he first went to Doctor Strange, he wasn't willing to sacrifice to be Spider-Man. He wanted his life to be normal and be Spider-Man. And Doctor Strange said you can't do that. And at the very end, Tom Holland Spider-Man realizes if I want to keep being Spider-Man, then I'm going to have to sacrifice because that's just how it is. And he did, and that's the truth, and the sacrifice was hard, sad, but that's just if you're Spider-Man, you have great power, but you also have great responsibility. And, your responsibility outweighs your ability to have a normal life. And it sucks. But that's it. So I thought it was well done in that regard. Super sad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't really care about this MJ in these movies until
Until this
this
one.
movie, and then I was like super bummed out. I was like, well, that sucks. All right, that's it.
Right.
But then at the very end, he gets his little apartment. Did you notice that book that in one of the boxes he has a GED prep guide?
I did notice that.
So he has to go back to school.
It seems strange to me. It seems strange to me. I get that the spell means everybody that knows him forgets him, but wouldn't his school records still be there?
No, they're all gone. There's no record of him, period, ever
Like he
existing.
can't walk into the school and say, "Hey,
Nope.
I know I was the very quiet kid sitting at the back of the room, and you never really noticed that I was there.
No,
but
no one.
look in your records. There's a record for me."
There's no records. They're all wiped. There's nothing that says even the words Peter Parker together don't exist.
Okay, all right.
So they're all
Yeah.
gone. But then he makes his own Spider-Man outfit, right?
Right.
And
I love that. I love that.
And he has his own little phone checking criminal stuff, and he swings out
Also
to New
love
York.
that. Also, yeah, he's like running an app on his phone that's doing a police scanner.
No more Iron Man stuff. No more Avengers stuff. No more Super Tech stuff. It's just him in a little apartment being the Spider-Man we've always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And even though this wasn't the Spider-Man movie you wanted, Mike, that last 2 minutes definitely were,
Yeah, and it sets me up for what we've been getting hints at, and some of it's maybe negotiating in public. But after this movie, I am so stoked for another 3 Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland set up the way this movie sets it up.
Agreed. I 100% agree. But it's,
I mean, if that happens, all 3 of those movies will be at the top of my list next time we do a rank.
The thing is, we are seeing public negotiations now that the movie's making so much money. Tom Holland can go back to Disney and Sony and be like, "You want me to do 3 more of these movies? Pay me." Like that's it.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, "Okay, we will pay you because look how much money we made during the pandemic." Like they're gonna make record sales.
Yeah.
They're gonna make record sales even though it's a pandemic. Like it's gonna be the numbers that we would have had before the pandemic. So it's gonna be so they're definitely gonna make more Spider-Man movies.
I saw some numbers. I don't really know the numbers themselves, but it was comparing them to other Marvel movies. Like one of them was Endgame, one of them was some other movie that made a lot of money, and it's really close. I mean, it's not at that level because it's during the pandemic, but it's super close.
And now Disney's got to figure out a way to get rights so they can show No Way Home on Disney Plus. Because if you think they're not going to do that, you're crazy. And like it's just going to be the movie that's going to help the MCU and Marvel moving forward. This movie has a lot of weight to it and did a lot of work, and it's it's going to be good to see what they do next. But I mean, yeah, they're definitely going to make more Spider-Man movies. That's just, I mean, Tom Holland's he's smart. He's already told everybody publicly, I don't know if I want to do any more of these. And so now him and his agents going to go back to wherever they go and write up a deal and make a big thing out of it. So it's gonna be fun.
All right. So do you think, okay, the way this movie ends, everybody forgets who Peter Parker is.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Parker had a very sad goodbye to MJ and Ned.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm going to find you two, and I'm going to make you remember me.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to MJ's donut shop that she works at, and as he's got it rehearsed this time, his speech to the MIT vice chancellor wasn't rehearsed when he got attacked on the bridge.
I didn't notice that, but yeah.
She's like, you didn't rehearse this, did you? But so he rehearsed the speech for MJ, wrote it out on a sheet of paper, and he walks into the donut store and he can't bring himself to do it. So he kind of starts out. He's like, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker. I'd like a coffee."
Mm-hmm.
Do you think in the next 3 Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, does he reunite with MJ and Ned, or is this a contract end for Zendaya? Is she done with Marvel movies at this point?
I don't know. If I was Zendaya and I was, who's the guy? What's the guy who plays Ned? What's his name?
Jacob Batalon.
If I was those guys, you have room to negotiate now and figure things out. I think that if Zendaya does sign up for more movies, I think the story thread will be them falling back in love again. I've talked about this before. This story, No Way Home, has a lot of similarities to One More Day and other storylines from Marvel Comics, and this story does it 1,000 times better than the comics did. But the idea is that the love affair between Peter Parker and MJ can't be broken just because of magic or whatever. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. I think from a fan point of view, like, you have to bring her back just so they can see that love affair. But there's other people that and plus too, do remember that one of the things that makes Spider-Man interesting is that everybody who gets close to him gets hurt. And so he tries to stay away from people. So maybe the storyline would be about him trying to figure out how to have a personal life. But
yeah,
we just have to wait and see. There's a lot of other things. There's a bunch of different plot things that this movie it has that's, I think, interesting. So one question is, does the Avengers still know that Spider-Man exists but don't know that Peter Parker exists? Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, they have to know that Spider-Man exists, and they just don't know he's Peter Parker.
Yeah, so that could be interesting. And then two, this is something that we can. This almost deserves another podcast, but I don't think we're already at 50 minutes, so and we already have 2 end scenes to talk about. So there's 2 things that we can talk about here. Well, one thing I think in the Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, we see them years later after their movies, correct?
Right. Yeah.
But the villains are going to go back to where they were in the middle of those movies. So does that mean
they were dying? They already died.
Yeah, but now they're going to be alive.
Yeah, but I think they'll go back to the point that they died.
No, the whole point was that if they go back, they won't be killed because they don't have those powers anymore.
Yeah, but it'll be another multiverse. It'll be at the point in time when they died.
But they won't die.
But they won't die. Yeah.
So that's a lot going on. So I don't know. And here's another key question. Is Marvel going to talk to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and be like, hey, people loved you guys. There's still love for you out there. Just saying, could you imagine a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie? I almost promise you they'll make Amazing Spider-Man 3. But I'm curious about.
I could definitely see that happening. Amazing Spider-Man 3. They've already got the script and everything. Yeah,
and the movie audience knows there's a multiverse. It's not messing with our heads,
right?
That we have multiple different Spider-Man. We understand. Oh, we know these guys. We know them.
It could be cool for them to have like a Tobey Maguire as a older Spider-Man, like
Mhm.
Spider-Man middle-aged. Uh,
Mike. What about a live action Spider-Man multiverse movie where like Tobey Maguire plays the old Peter Parker from the animated movie?
isn't that what we saw? Isn't that No Way
Yeah,
No Way Home? I
yeah,
mean,
kind of. But now,
yeah.
but what if he like interacts with like Miles Morales or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah,
There's so much potential here
right.
that it kind of blows your brain. But we are running out of time, so we have
Uh,
two end credits to
Hang on
talk
a
about.
second. Hang on a second. I want to give
Go
you
for
a
it,
platform to be super nerdy for a little bit.
please.
Um, there were a ton of Spider-Man costumes in this movie.
Yeah.
And as someone that doesn't read comic books, I would love it if you could tell me a little bit about each one of the Spider-Man costumes that stood out to you.
And well, the red and black costume that Tom Holland first wears is from the old Amazing Spider-Man comics that were penned by Eric Lawson a long time ago, like 20, 30 years ago. So he at one point he made a costume that was the blue part was turned black. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that. The Iron Spider-Man, we've seen that and talked about that. That's from Civil War from the comics. We've discussed that.
Okay.
Um, the Tom Holland's, I mean the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man costume and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man costume are iterations of the classic Spider-Man costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the special black one that he kind of had, which was his costume
When
turned
he had the
inside out.
phone like taped
Yeah,
to his
yeah,
chest, yeah.
yeah. That's not really kind of cool. But it just kind of looked cool. And the one where he has like the Iron Spider over his costume is kind of like the Spider-Man from the video games. It kind of looks like the Spider-Man costume from the video games. But
Mm-hmm.
there's not one like that in the comic. But then at the very end, he wore the classic Spider-Man costume at the very end, which I thought was great. I just thought
Yeah,
that was
I
brilliant.
loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Me too. Um, Man, we could talk about this movie for another hour, but I'll get in trouble. I'm leaving my wife with her in-laws by herself, so I need to get back. Um,
Right.
okay, we got two end credits. We got one that I hated, and then one that I absolutely love. That we might need to have another podcast just to talk about it. But the first mid-credit
I'm
scene,
guessing that you hated the mid-credit scene.
hated it. Like I don't care about Venom. Nobody does. It's like, well, who cares? And he doesn't even stay in the universe. He just leaves. Like I don't understand I don't
That's why I thought
understand.
maybe you would love it.
But I don't understand what they're doing. We did get that
Doesn't
scene.
Okay, so before we talk about it, give a quick synopsis of this scene for the people.
Well, Eddie Brock, played by what's his face? I don't remember his name. I should, because I like the actor of him a lot.
It's the Mad Max guy.
Yeah, hang on, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
Where is he? I just saw it. I have my notes right in front of me. Oh well. Anyway, look it up.
Anyway,
He's at a bar talking to a guy trying to understand the universe that he's in, and
right.
and Venom is being weird, which I hate, but it's fine. But
Yeah.
then he was like, "I'm going to go to New York and find the Spider-Man," but then he just disappears because of the spell,
Right.
which doesn't make any sense. He doesn't know. Anyway, whatever. But
No, wait. I think you were getting ready to say is why was he ever pulled here in the first place?
why was he even
Because
pulled
he
there in the
doesn't know
first
Peter
place?
Parker.
I guess the symbiote does. I don't know. It's just so convoluted. But
The symbiote
then
doesn't know Peter Parker.
I know it does. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense.
The only sense that this makes to me is part of the whole this movie's fixing things. It seems like this whole scene is to fix the bad Venom movies that Sony's been doing on their own. Leave a little bit of goo in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so that you can have a good version of Venom for future movies.
I would be fine if we get the black suit for the next Tom Holland Spider-Man. I'd be okay with it. But Sony, like, we can talk about this forever. You could see certain places where Sony is putting their hands down. Like Sony's like, okay, you can do all this cool stuff, but we get a Venom scene in your movie. And like that's the deal. You have to do it. Otherwise, we won't let you make this movie. Because Sony still owns the rights to Spider-Man, which means that
Right.
Marvel has to ask Sony for all this stuff, which is super annoying. But
Yeah.
Sony's doing what they have to do. So I think it's just something that Sony wanted to get done, but it's so ham-handed and it's not even interesting. So
But
it
like, what do you
is what
think
it is.
happens with that goo? Does the bartender touch it, and the bartender's now Venom?
Who knows? Like I don't.
I
I'm
mean,
so
like,
I don't even know. I
he wasn't even in New York. That would
yeah.
be kind of cool. But also, I definitely do not want any of the next 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies to involve Venom in any way, shape, or
Yeah,
form.
I'm okay with it if it involves them in the right way, but I'm just kind of over it. It's just like, like Sony. This is obviously a place where Sony is doing what they do, which is messed everything up. But we don't even know if Sony will let them make another Spider-Man movie. So we'll just have to. That's I don't know. It is. It's just whatever. To all you people who spend money on Venom movies, this is your fault. If they didn't make any money off these Venom movies, we wouldn't have to deal with this. But all you stupid kids go to see stupid movies and you all say you love it, which you really don't. You're just being pains in the butts, but it is what it is. But Mike, let's talk about something way better.
So that
Okay?
means that you loved the end credit scene.
Dude, okay. Once again,
Well, okay, before you get started, I
okay.
gotta know what you loved about it, because to me, these end credit scenes and mid credit scenes are supposed to be little vignettes that are created just for the movie they're playing in.
Mhm.
To me, this felt cheap and lame, because basically all they did was put a trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness at the end of this movie.
You can say it's cheap and lame, and I respect that. But it's the longest end credit thing we've ever seen, and
Yeah.
it's a trailer for the Doctor Strange movie, the next Doctor Strange movie,
That's why
which we
I
did,
didn't like
which
it.
we
Like,
did, but
release
we
a
did,
trailer,
but we
do a
didn't,
little vignette for this movie.
but we didn't know we'd get it. We didn't know we'd get this, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh wow. And Mike, did you see that this movie is basically the Doctor Strange What If episode? Did you notice that?
I mean, I saw that there was definitely the evil Doctor Strange. Yeah, yeah.
That is
And
if
he
they
is the greatest threat to our universe.
that is if they're doing what I think they're going to do, which is they got two options here. They're either going to remake the What If Doctor Strange episode as a live action movie, or
Hmm.
they're going to use the Doctor Strange episode as like canon. So it's like if you watch the What If episode, this is like a sequel to it.
Hmm.
What? That is crazy.
Well, I
Did you
mean, Nega Doctor Strange is going to show up in that movie.
Dude, did you see in one of the scenes, Doctor Strange shoots dragons out of his hands like he did in the What If episode?
I did not see that.
It's
Was
for
that?
us. It's a half second, but he definitely does it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, they're doing it. They're doing it. And I'm
Which
like,
Doctor Strange was it?
the good Doctor Strange.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's like, dude, this What If, dude. Like we just hit this What If episodes with everything we got. We said the What If episodes were just terrible, and now look, now What If episodes like we're about to make a whole movie, a whole movie based off this whole thing. Oh well,
Right.
that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I mean, even some of the dialogue was from the What If episode.
Like, can you call anything out there? Or
Like I didn't mean to. It was like I didn't mean to do this. It went too far. It wasn't my fault. That's
mm,
the same kind of things he said in the What If episode.
yeah, right, right.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's
I
absolutely crazy.
loved the I think it's how it opens. I loved the opening scene with what's her name?
Um,
The magic lady.
Scarlet Witch.
The Scarlet Witch, yes.
Yeah, I
I
thought
love
she was cool.
that scene, that place that she's in, that she's created for herself, was so beautiful.
It,
It was
it looked like a
awesome.
farm. It just looked like a regular old farm.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was interesting because I always thought that the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness would be her getting Doctor Strange to help, but it looks like he's getting her help, which is even
Yeah.
cooler.
Right. Right.
I am all about this movie now, man. I cannot wait for this movie to come out. I'm super duper stoked for this movie. Super stoked. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike, I have no news you can abuse, man. Sorry.
What?
I have
None?
none. I have no news you can
Uh,
abuse. I'm
Wow,
sorry.
that's
I'm falling
well,
so far behind.
it's the holidays. The news cycle is slowing down at the end of the year.
I just kind of feel like this episode of the Super Sideshow podcast is dedicated to all the fans of the Spider-Man movies, and I've been very hard on like people who like the Reddit crowd who are like begging for this and like was saying how the three Spider-Man should hook up and do this, and I was like, this is so lame. I have to apologize. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm definitely going to see it again before it goes out in theaters. And even if I get COVID, I'm definitely going to see it again. And I just thought, like
I don't think
this
it's worth it, but go ahead.
probably isn't. But like this movie was just fun. Like this movie reminded me of the first time I saw Spider-Man in theaters. Like Spider-Man has always been my favorite comic book character, and to see this movie kind of like help other people understand why I love Spider-Man so much. Not just any Spider-Man, because I do think there is a place for Miles Morales. I understand that people want like a person of color to be Spider-Man. I respect that. But Peter Parker is something special.
Oh,
And
did you notice the dialogue between Jamie
yeah,
Foxx?
that was
Yeah,
really funny. That was really
yeah,
funny. Um, I always thought you were black. It's like that's funny.
right.
But Peter
'Cause you're
Parker's
from
special.
Queens, you help people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Peter Parker's special, and I hope people understand why I've loved Peter Parker since I was like 12. You know,
Hmm.
he's really like that character has always helped me find a moral compass, and I really love that this movie tried to do that too. So good, this good stuff, guys. Great movie. Mike, it's the holiday season.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what I'm getting my friends and family for the holidays. Do you know what you're getting your friends and family for the holidays?
absolutely,
Where you
absolutely.
where you
Yeah,
getting your friends and family?
I'm gonna give them a link to the podcast by hitting the share button right now.
I'm actually going to print out a link and like
Yeah,
put it in an envelope so they have to type it into the web browser.
that's nice. That's nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a good build up. Yeah,
It's like, okay, I can't wait. Got one more, and then they mess up and they got to redo it. But yeah, yeah.
right,
And
right.
you
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
listeners should also. And like, if you know people who have seen the Spider-Man movie, send them this episode. I mean, there's lots about the Spider-Man movie that I'm sure they didn't know, or maybe some other things that they're curious about.
I mean, they
Um,
definitely didn't know about those Spider-Man costumes that you told us about. That's super cool.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and like I always take it for granted that people know this stuff, but yeah, you guys don't. You guys
yeah.
have
No,
not read as many
no
comics that I
idea. No idea. Yep.
have. So also give us a
All I
review.
knew is that there were a lot of Spider-Man costumes in this movie.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost obnoxiously, but it's fun.
Yeah.
You should also leave us a review. You should like, and you should definitely subscribe.
Yeah,
Our
thumbs
YouTube
up and star
subscriptions,
us. Yeah.
our YouTube subscriptions are going up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, subscribe there.
Yeah, pretty excited.
Hit us
And
up on Twitter at Super Sideshow.
yes, hit us up on Twitter all day long. And I would love for you guys to send me Twitter stuff and talk about this more. I will talk to you guys on Twitter all day long. I just posted my rankings of the MCU movies. Mike, you posted your wrong rankings. So people saw your wrong rankings. I hope you're not too embarrassed by those rankings being so wrong. But then
They're absolutely right for me.
okay, for you, yes, I like that.
For me,
Right
yeah.
for you, yeah.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna have to do another one of the rankings with all the movies, cause like now, like I thought Shang-Chi was gonna be way up there, but now like Spider-Man, like where do I put these? It's just like
Mhm.
we have an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah. When's the next movie coming out? Do you know? Like, what's the next?
I don't know. It's gonna be a while. It
Yeah.
might be Multiverse of Madness is probably the next one. So I'll check. Like it's not. We might get This is gonna be scary, Mike. We might go through a drought. Go through a little drought coming up.
After a deluge of Marvel content, yeah.
Yeah, and now it's gonna be a little bit. We'll have to figure out. We have other things though. We still have to do our in-game episode, and then we still have to do Far From Home, which is gonna be ugh. I gotta
Right.
rewatch that movie. Ugh.
Yeah, we got to do WandaVision. Yeah,
I'm actually really looking forward to doing WandaVision. I'm really looking forward to that. It's gonna be great because I'm only gonna start one time. It'll be fun, and then by the time we get done with all that, there'll be new stuff, so we'll be fine.
Yeah,
And we also gotta do Lego Batman because I promised you I'd do it.
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy that one. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I probably won't. I won't. Oh, anyway, I don't know if I'll talk to you again, Mike. Oh yeah, we have a podcast before Christmas. Never mind.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do. Yeah, we've
All
got
right, good.
one more episode of Hawkeye.
All right, everybody who's listening to this, go see Spider-Man No Way Home. Tell your friends to go see it. Enjoy it. It's a great movie. You really like it.
Yeah, and hit that share button. Share this with everybody you know that's watched the Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
They'll thank you for it.